What are the billionaires of the world hiding behind their massive fortunes? From corruption to questionable alliances, their path to power isn't as clean as it seems. Get ready as we expose 10 dark secrets of the most powerful billionaires that will leave you shocked. 1. The web of tax avoidance. Billionaires often use sophisticated tax avoidance schemes to protect their wealth. By exploiting legal loopholes, they shift money to offshore accounts, shell companies, or tax havens like the Cayman Islands or Panama. These strategies, while technically legal, deprive governments of much-needed funds for public services. Investigations like the Paradise Papers and Pandora Papers exposed how billionaires, including CEOs and celebrities, hide wealth on a massive scale. This tax avoidance fuels inequality, as middle-class workers often bear the brunt of tax obligations. Critics argue that the ultra-wealthy manipulate the system to benefit themselves while leaving nations and their citizens shortchanged. 2. The dark side of philanthropy. While philanthropy is often portrayed as noble, it can also be a tool for power consolidation. Many billionaires establish charitable foundations that allow them to avoid taxes and influence public policy. For instance, some direct their donations toward causes that align with their business interests, ensuring long-term financial gains. These foundations are not always transparent, leaving questions about how donations are used. Critics argue this philanthropy undermines democracy as billionaires decide societal priorities instead of elected governments. In some cases, their generosity perpetuates inequality by diverting attention from exploitative practices that enabled their massive wealth in the first place. 3. Monopolistic practices. Billionaires often create monopolies to maintain dominance and eliminate competition. This is evident in industries like technology, retail, and pharmaceuticals. Some powerful figures use aggressive tactics, such as predatory pricing, buying out competitors, or stifling smaller businesses with lawsuits. This behavior stifles innovation and leaves consumers with fewer choices. For example, major tech giants have faced antitrust investigations globally, accused of monopolistic practices to dominate markets. Such actions may result in reduced consumer protections and higher prices over time. Critics argue that monopolies harm economic ecosystems, as wealth and power concentrate in the hands of a few at society's expense. 4. Exploitation of workers. The empires of many billionaires are built on the backs of underpaid and overworked employees. Reports of warehouse workers facing grueling conditions, long hours, unsafe environments, and minimal breaks are common in certain industries. Billionaire-owned companies have also been accused of union busting and firing employees for organizing. For example, some fast fashion brands profit from low-cost labor in developing nations, where wages are shockingly low. While these practices maximize profits, they also perpetuate systemic inequality and poverty. Despite public outcry, billionaires often continue to prioritize profit margins over improving working conditions, demonstrating a disregard for the welfare of their workforce. 5. Influencing politics. Billionaires wield immense influence over politics through campaign donations, lobbying, and media ownership. Their financial power allows them to shape policies that protect their wealth and interests, often at the expense of ordinary citizens. In the US, for instance, billionaires have funded political action committees, PACs, to sway elections and push deregulation. In other cases, they lobby for tax cuts and laws favoring big businesses. This influence often skews democratic systems, as politicians cater to wealthy donors rather than the broader population. Critics argue this undermines fair governance and creates a system where money, not votes, determines political outcomes. 6. Environmental destruction. Many billionaires amass wealth from industries that harm the environment, such as oil, mining, and manufacturing. These sectors contribute to deforestation, greenhouse gas emissions, and water pollution. While some billionaires invest in green initiatives, these efforts often pale in comparison to the environmental damage caused by their businesses. For instance, mining billionaires profit from resource extraction that devastates ecosystems and displaces communities. Additionally, some billionaires push for deregulation to avoid accountability for their environmental impact. Critics argue that these practices reflect short-term profit motives rather than long-term sustainability. further exacerbating global environmental crises like climate change and biodiversity loss. 7. Corruption allegations. Corruption has been a recurring theme in the stories of many billionaires. Accusations range from bribing officials to secure lucrative contracts to evading legal scrutiny. In some cases, billionaires have been linked to scandals involving fraudulent business practices or illegal activities. For example, some wealthy individuals have been implicated in using political connections to win favorable deals or avoid taxes. These practices often occur in regions with weak regulatory oversight, allowing billionaires to act with impunity. Corruption not only undermines public trust, but also fuels inequality, as the wealthy exploit systems meant to benefit everyone for their own enrichment. 8. Control over media. Billionaires owning media outlets is a double-edged sword. While it provides them a platform to share perspectives, it also creates conflicts of interest. Media ownership allows billionaires to control narratives, suppress critical stories, and promote their agendas. For instance, some have been accused of using their outlets to shield themselves from scandals or discredit opponents. This concentration of media power undermines journalistic integrity and the public's access to unbiased information. Critics argue that billionaire-controlled media contributes to misinformation and polarization, as coverage often aligns with the owner's political or business interests rather than serving the public good. 9. Mysterious partnerships. Many billionaires have controversial ties to authoritarian regimes or questionable organizations. These partnerships often lead to profits but raise serious ethical concerns. For instance, some billionaires collaborate with oppressive governments to secure contracts for infrastructure, energy, or technology projects. In return, they benefit from favorable regulations and exclusive deals. Such alliances often come at the cost of human rights, as profits are prioritized over ethical considerations. Critics argue that these relationships reflect a willingness to compromise on values for financial gain, further entrenching authoritarianism and corruption in vulnerable regions, while shielding billionaires from accountability. 10th, questionable investments. Billionaires often invest in industries or projects that raise ethical concerns, such as private prisons, surveillance technology, and arms manufacturing. These ventures, while lucrative, can perpetuate societal harm, such as mass incarceration or the erosion of privacy. For example, investments in surveillance technologies have sparked fears of misuse by authoritarian governments. Similarly, billionaires profiting from private prisons are incentivized to maintain high incarceration rates, disproportionately affecting marginalized communities. Critics argue that such investments demonstrate a focus on profit over ethical responsibility, as the social consequences of these industries often exacerbate inequality and undermine fundamental human rights. These secrets reveal a darker side to the wealth and power of the world's billionaires. What do you think? Are they just playing the game or crossing the line? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for more eye-opening content.